All right, let's just dive right into this explainer and demystify a topic that is fundamentally reshaping our entire world. Today, we're unpacking the whole journey, from the theoretical foundations of artificial intelligence all the way to the enterprise factory floor of machine learning operations. So if you've ever found yourself wondering how raw data actually transforms into a self-learning system, well, you are absolutely in the right place.
To really understand where we are today, we kind of have to look back. Over 6 decades ago, in a landmark 1959 paper on his Checkers program, Arthur Samuel brilliantly defined machine learning. He described it as giving computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. Think about that for a second. Even back in 1959, it was this early, profound indication of our determination to impart our own human system of learning directly to machines.
Okay, here is our roadmap. We're going to unpack the AI Matryoshka, open up the machine learning toolbox, go inside neural networks, look at deep learning and hardware, explore the machine learning lifecycle, and finally tackle MLOps and model drift.
Part 1. Unpacking the AI Matryoshka, sorting out AI, machine learning, and deep learning. Before we go any further, we really need to clear up the widespread confusion between these 3 terms.
It helps to think of these fields literally like Russian nesting dolls. On the very outside, you have the broad, overarching field of computer science. Inside that, data science. Pop that one open and you find artificial intelligence, which is just the broad concept of machines performing cognitive tasks. Tucked inside AI is machine learning, using statistical modeling to detect patterns. And if we had one more tiny doll nestled inside there, it would be deep learning, which uses complex neural networks. Now, this nested relationship builds into a total paradigm shift. It flips the whole script. In traditional programming, a human writes explicit rules. If this, then that. You feed in the rules and the data, and boom, you get an answer. But machine learning flips this entirely on its head. You feed the system the historical answers alongside the data, and the system actually generates its own rules. It infers those statistical relationships all by itself. No way, right? But that's exactly what it does.
Moving on to Part 2, the machine learning toolbox. Supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. How exactly do these systems learn those rules? Well, there are 3 distinct learning paradigms we need to understand. First up is supervised learning. This one is heavily relied upon in the enterprise world. It uses historical, carefully labeled data to teach the model. Think of it exactly like a teacher providing an answer key to a student. The model learns the relationship between inputs and those known outputs. And that allows it to classify totally new, unseen information, like looking at a fresh credit card transaction and confidently predicting whether it's fraud or not fraud.
In contrast, unsupervised learning acts a lot more like an explorer. It dives headfirst into massive amounts of raw, unlabeled data without any external guidance or answer key whatsoever. It's just out there looking for intrinsic, hidden patterns and correlations entirely on its own. A really great example of this is clustering customers who have similar yet super complex purchasing behaviors that a human marketer would probably completely miss.
Finally, we have reinforcement learning. Now, this operates on a pure system of rewards and penalties. An AI agent interacts with its environment and learns through rigorous trial and error, constantly adjusting its approach to maximize its reward. It's basically the underlying technique powering all those incredible advancements we see in robotics, self-driving cars, and those unbeatable game-playing algorithms. All right, Part 3. Inside neural networks. Peeking into the black box. We are going to physically zoom in right now and look under the hood of deep learning to understand the basic building block of an artificial neural network.
I want you to meet the perceptron. It is the most basic form of the feed-forward neural network. You can really think of it as a very simple, isolated digital brain. It receives multiple inputs on the left, processes them right in the center, and produces a single output on the right. But that begs the question, how does it actually know which inputs are important?
Well, to make sense of the data, the network assigns unique weights to each connection. Look at the 0.5 and -1.0 shown here. These act as mathematical multipliers. They instantly increase or decrease a specific input's contribution to the final decision. And during training, the network is constantly tweaking thousands or even millions of these weights to get closer and closer to the correct answer.
Finally, the central processor applies what's called an activation function to those weighted inputs. It basically creates a mathematical rule, kind of like a decision gateway. If the combined inputs meet a certain threshold, the processor passes the signal forward as a 1. If not, it ignores it completely as a zero. And when you link millions of these simple decision gateways together, you get some absolutely incredible, complex pattern recognition.
Part 4. Deep Learning in Hardware, the infrastructure powering modern AI. As you can imagine, linking millions of these perceptrons together into deep, cascading layers requires some truly mind-boggling computational resources.
Traditional CPUs would literally take weeks to calculate the math required for a modern neural network. That's why deep learning relies so heavily on the massive parallel computing power of GPUs. Paired with that hardware is Python, the undisputed programming language of machine learning, and powerful open-source libraries like Google's TensorFlow. Imagine building a house, right? Instead of making every single brick and tool yourself from scratch, TensorFlow provides these ready-made building blocks. It makes creating, training, and deploying intelligent AI models exponentially faster and easier without you having to code all that complex calculus manually. Which brings us to Part 5, the machine learning lifecycle, operating on the factory floor. Let's zoom all the way out from the math and the hardware to see how these models are actually built and put into production at scale.
Building a usable model isn't just about picking an algorithm. It's a super rigorous, iterative lifecycle. First, you have data preparation, cleaning up all those raw inputs. Then, feature engineering, which converts your data into signals the model can actually learn from. Next is the actual training, followed by strict evaluation to prove the model can handle unseen data in the real world. Then deployment into a live pipeline, and finally, closing the entire loop with continuous monitoring.
And Part 6, MLOps and model drift, why launching a model is just the beginning. That final step of monitoring is absolutely crucial.
Because as any data scientist will tell you, launching a model is really just the start. Enter machine learning operations, or MLOps, the discipline of keeping these models safe and reliable in production. You see, a model might perform perfectly in the lab, but without strict controls, it will inevitably suffer from what we call model drift. As user behaviors change and live markets shift, the model's accuracy naturally degrades. MLOps provides the observability and continuous retraining required to catch this drift before bad predictions start wreaking havoc on the business.
So, the ultimate takeaway here is this. A brilliant algorithm is practically useless without a unified foundation of governed data. You absolutely need repeatable pipelines and rigorous lifecycle controls tracking every single deployment. The models are powerful, sure, but the data foundation is what actually keeps the whole house from collapsing.
Knowing how these systems learn and adapt, from the massive enterprise factory floor all the way down to the math inside a single tiny perceptron, I want you to consider something. As you navigate the digital world today, how is your own daily digital footprint currently shaping the models of tomorrow? It's kind of a fascinating thought to leave you with. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll catch you on the next one.